This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. For months, we've heard how staff shortages in hospitals are impacting Manitoba's healthcare system. Tonight, a Winnipeg man shares his family's story. He says a lack of home care has left him caring for his dying common-law partner all on his own. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
For Eric DeShepper and his partner Kathy, it's all happened so fast. He says Kathy was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in November. In December, she collapsed and spent weeks in hospital. Then in January, after careful thought, he says she chose to receive palliative care at home.
If she sees the end of this month, it'll be a lot. It'll be a miracle.
DeShepper says he was under the impression there would be help available, a nurse coming once or twice a week to check on her, home care, and respite for him.
Well, my expectation was, of course, that would happen. Unfortunately, those expectations haven't been met.
You see, while she has had visits from a nurse, there's been no respite. And he says despite repeated requests, no home care to help with things like bathing. He says a sponge bath is the most he's been able to do on his own.
It's going from anger to outrage to sadness to disbelief there's a whole bunch of emotions there. To me, it feels like the system that we are paying into as taxpayers, it's failing us. It's not providing us with what we need.
In a statement, the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority says its home care program is short-staffed. A spokesperson says they recognize the needs of palliative care clients and are prioritizing filling services as soon as possible. DeShepper says this week he contacted a foundation that supports cancer patients, and within a day, they were able to hire home care to help Kathy for a couple of hours.
When I came back, Catherine was laying there with a smile on her face. I hadn't seen her smile since she came home. So that tells me that these people, these home care workers, they are really needed.
He says he's speaking out in hopes of helping other families.
That this is a disgrace. That's all I can say about it. And I'm looking for accountability. I want to know how come.
For now, he's on leave from work to care for Kathy, and he's looking to other options for help. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, in response to CBC's coverage of that story, Health Minister Audrey Gordon called the situation sad. She says there is a plan for seniors and long-term care coming. The president of the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority says more home care attendants are being trained right now.
We are training 300 additional care aides to work in the community environment. That work has been initiated. We've got a group that's training them. So we are paying for people to receive their training, and then we're going to be launching those individuals out into the community to address some of the challenges that we've been experiencing in home care.
Mike Nader says those new workers could be deployed as early as this spring. 2 federal ministers sat down this morning with the Premier's inner circle. They started hashing out plans for new federal health dollars. But as CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, it's not entirely clear how that money will be spent in Manitoba.
Welcome, everyone.
A photo op at the start of a meeting between Premier Heather Stephenson, several members of her cabinet, and 2 Liberal cabinet ministers on a cross-country tour to promote a healthcare deal. Jean-Yves Duclos and Dominic LeBlanc sat down with part of the PC cabinet to hear how Manitoba intends to spend $1.2 billion. This federal money could flow to Manitoba in time for the provincial budget.
We know that they want to be able to count on the federal funds in the next financial year, which starts sort of 6 weeks from now.
Under the terms of the deal, the province has to spend some of the money on home care, some of it on long-term care, and some of it on mental health and substance use. Health Minister Audrey Gordon also identified another provincial priority.
Ensuring that individuals who want to come to work here in Manitoba can have their credentials recognized.
Canada's health minister also said the province wants to improve family medicine.
When people ask themselves, when I get sick, who am I supposed to go to? And they don't know where to go to if they don't have access to a family doctor or a family health team.
Jean-Yves Duclos says there are no strings attached to this new money, provided the province doesn't claw back on health spending. But he conceded there are not many conditions attached to the cash.
An important one is that people don't pay with their credit card when they need to have access to medically necessary health care.
Audrey Gordon chafed against that comment.
Manitobans don't use their credit card. It's a single-payer, publicly funded system, and we will continue to maintain that.
In a statement, the Premier called today's meeting productive. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Financial incentives from the province to help address nursing shortages are beginning to pay off, according to the head of the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority. The province announced $200 million to hire 2,000 more healthcare workers in the fall and to provide incentives to keep workers in Manitoba to attract others to work in the province as well. At the news conference today, Manitoba Health Minister Audrey Gordon repeated a series of efforts announced last fall aimed at recruitment and retention of nurses.
Supporting the health and wellness of nurses who are providing care to others is a priority, and the new wellness incentive is one of several projects underway to improve the work environment, safety and well-being of all nurses in Manitoba.
Gordon did not provide more specifics when asked about her pledge to end mandated overtime. We're learning more today about a massive drug investigation. Back in December, we reported police had charged the owner of a Winnipeg bagel shop. Now, CBC's Cameron McLean reports that a dozen more people have been arrested as part of Project Onyx.
In the front here, you see powdered substance. Again, that's cocaine. This is methamphetamine in a green. This is the first time we've seen this in Manitoba.
50 kilograms of cocaine. Winnipeg police say it's worth an estimated $5 million. 20 kilos of meth worth $2 million. They also seized guns, jewelry, cash, and 12 vehicles. Police found these bricks in a secret compartment inside a vehicle coming to Manitoba from Toronto on January 31st.
The kilos you see here are, we believe, to be cocaine. Obviously, they're not opened up, but the few that we've opened up to test have contained handguns inside, which is the first time we've seen that in our history here, which is actually very concerning.
So handguns in the actual cocaine?
They are putting handguns right inside the cocaine, and I don't understand why.
11 of the people charged are from Manitoba, including Chris Silva, co-owner of Hudson Bagels. Police say they also searched an auto body shop in Winnipeg. One suspect comes from Ontario, another is from BC. Inspector Elton Hall says this is just the tip of the iceberg.
When you see this table, this is why crime rates are going through the roof, why shootings are going up, why gang violence is going up. So it's a very significant arrest, absolutely.
The arrests mark the end of Project Onyx, a months-long investigation into this drug network. But here at police headquarters, investigators are still looking into the source of the guns, and more charges could be laid against the 13 people accused. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A new Winnipeg City Council motion aims to reopen more police stations in the city to the public. At the start of the pandemic, the North, West, and East District stations were closed to the public. Councillor Russ Wyatt says that's making police inaccessible for people who want to report crime in person. He believes the Winnipeg Police Board has the authority to direct police to reopen them. Although 3 of the district stations are closed, downtown police headquarters is still open to the public. The chair of the police board says the decision to deploy officers elsewhere is a fitting response to concerns of rising crime. City Council plans to discuss the motion at its meeting next Thursday. The number of University of Manitoba students penalized for working together on assignments is on the rise. New data from the school's discipline committee was released earlier this month, and it shows a trend at the school some students find concerning. CBC's Josh Crabb explains.
The total number of cases of academic misconduct here at University of Manitoba dropped slightly last school year compared to the previous year after cases of cheating and plagiarism spiked during the pandemic. But one area where there was an increase was in inappropriate collaboration. This past school year, there were 380 incidents of inappropriate collaboration, a 5-year high. Rates of cheating also rose in recent years into the hundreds, up from only 92 incidents 5 years ago. Academic plagiarism has also been increasing overall, with hundreds more students being disciplined than they were 5 years ago. Now, inappropriate collaboration is essentially defined as working with others when you're not supposed to. Students say, for the most part, instructors and professors make the policy pretty clear. They say if inappropriate conduct does occur, it might not be done nefariously. Students may just be trying in good faith to help others.
Like, each individual needs to be prepared. So they have said that before, but I don't think the students recognize that in the moment. They just want to help each other, in the moment and not think about the long run.
You work on your own. You don't have to work with anyone else. I mean, if you do, it's kind of plagiarism and this other stuff, cheating, that will be involved. But they will tell you what the work is and how to do with who.
You need to understand what you're doing in order to succeed. So if you're just taking the short way, it's not exactly helping you or anyone else.
The University of Manitoba Students' Union says it's no surprise cheating and plagiarism rose during the pandemic as students were working, studying, and testing remotely. UMSU President Jaron Reiches says the issue of inappropriate collaboration is a policy some students may not realize they're breaking until it's too late.
If the intent is not in any way to be dishonest, or the intent is not in any way to, act dishonestly when it comes to their, academia, I don't think that a harsh penalty of a 0 or even making someone retake the class is fair.
The chair of the University of Manitoba's Discipline Committee responded to concerns raised by students late Friday afternoon.
So the penalties can vary, but there's consistency, at least among how severe the penalty was, and match it to the infraction.
The penalties in cases of inappropriate collaboration included 0 on assignments or failing a course, as well as temporary program suspension and a notation on a student's transcript. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, hey-ho, my friends. This is the night many, many, many Winnipeggers have been waiting for, the kickoff of Festival du Voyageur. CBC's Emily Brass is already in Voyageur Park. Hi, Emily, how are you?
Doing great, Janet. The gates just opened here and people are already starting to trickle in, big smiles on people's faces. Fiddle music is turned up. You can smell pine smoke in the air. And joining me now is Chantal Vielfort. She speaks for Festival du Voyageur. Chantal, tell us what's new, what's exciting, what's happening tonight?
Bonjour. Yes, exciting day in the park. We're opening now and everybody's starting to trickle in. We've got amazing sculptures again this year, even more than normal. We've got the International Sculpture Symposium that's coming back in. We've got sculptors, you can see kind of behind me. We also have interactive snow sculptures where people can climb up and take pictures with them, so it kind of looks like you're on top of the animals, so it's really cool.
Perfect selfie opportunity.
Yes, people love selfies, yes, exactly. The big Red River tent presented by BelMTS is back again, so really excited about that. We've got our Infinity Fire with a lot of Indigenous art all over the park. So we have a curated art piece that's called Stories Carried by Smoke, and it's just art pieces installed everywhere as projections or physical art all over the park that people can come and see.
Oh, that's great. So that's some of the new things that are happening here. What about the old? You'll see people dressed with their Métis sashes, les flèches, you'll see fur, you'll see the Hudson's Bay blanket jackets. What is the significance of that to Festival?
Yeah, the capot is just staple of the festival, and they keep you warm in winter, which is always something that we need. Kind of beautiful day today, but it'll get colder for sure. But these sashes, the sashes were worn by the voyageurs when they would do their partages to kind of help strengthen their back and all that, and it's just carried on, and people love wearing them, all different colors. They can pick them up online from our store or at the park itself. Yeah.
And another big feature is touching on the history of the Franco-Manitobain, the Métis culture of Manitoba. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so Festival really celebrates Franco-Manitoban culture as well as Métis and Indigenous cultures, and we've just kind of continued to do that. We want everybody to feel welcome, say bonjour, hey ho to everyone when they come in, have that, that familiar feel, and taste all the delicious Franco-Manitoban food, and of course the maple taffy and the caribou.
All right, yeah, and the ice bar and ice glasses.
Yes, exactly. In the ice bar and the ice glass where you can get the caribou this year is on a brand new Terrasse à Chanson, with our boîte à chanson where the artists are playing inside and everybody's outside by the fires with their nice drink and having a good time and dancing outside with their boots on.
And speaking of the music, in the last 30 seconds, what are you looking forward to the most out of the performances?
Oh, I'm so excited. There's over 200 artists, which is the biggest lineup we've ever had at Festival. So a big bang to come back and have a full in-person festival. I'm looking forward to a lot of artists, a lot of Franco-Manitoban women artists are coming, a lot of artists from Quebec, and of course my own little star, Susan Glukark. I'm really excited on Louis Riel Day, which will have tons of activities for families and things to do. So come on down.
Yeah, tell us about that artist a little bit in the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, Susan Glukark. I mean, I grew up, my mom had her albums and we listened to her. I've never seen her live. She's an Inuk artist who was born, I think, in Churchill, Manitoba, and she's just has a beautiful voice, and I'm just very, very excited to see her.
All right, are we excited enough to do our cheer?
Yeah, let's
1,
do
2, 3.
Hey ho!
And so, Janet, the festival runs until the 26th. The first show tonight is at 7:15, so come on down to Festival du Voyageur.
Thank you, Emily. Emily Brass, live in Voyageur Park. Live in Voyageur Park. Yeah,
right,
that's
you
it.
nailed it.
Yeah. Live in the studio with me, Fiona Odlum. The weather, beautiful tonight for Festival. And it's so important, the weather. It really impacts how you feel when you go there, of course.
Absolutely. It's a huge factor. And there's been some good years and there have been some bad years. Let's take a look back in time and see some of those good and bad years. So first of all, let's talk about the very first festival. That was in 1970. The first day was February 26th. On that day, they saw blowing snow and a daytime high of -29. Minus 12.9, excuse me. Now, the warmest year was not that long ago. It was in 2017, and the very first day of Festival was 5.3 degrees. Sculptures melted that year. They also had record attendance. The coldest year was 1979, where the average temperature that week for the daytime high was -22. Well, we don't have that today, thank goodness. We're sitting at -5 right now. We've had a little moment of some snow, but right now we're just seeing mostly cloudy and a wind chill of -11. The wind is easing down as well from what we had this morning. That was tricky. Here's the snow that I'm talking about that's just clipping by Winnipeg right now. You can see it here on that outer east end there where we have that snow, and that is definitely causing a little bit of a dust up, but it's not as bad as what we saw, say, on Tuesday because we just don't have the wind as a factor. So we do have that light snow there. Now, these numbers of snow are actually going up a little bit. I thought we were going to get 1 centimeter in the next 24. We're getting 2 now. And then on Saturday into Sunday, we're going to see another centimeter coming towards Winnipeg. Really, the bulk of the snow is going to be Swan River and northwestern Ontario. That's where you're going to see the issue. Let's talk about the wind. We had a strong wind this morning with gusts into the 60s. Tomorrow, we're going to see some gusts into the 30s, possible 40s towards Dauphin and into Fisher Branch. So with that little bit of snow, we could see a little bit of an issue just on those highways there. Sunday, we're going to see those winds pushing into the 40s and 50s in towards the Gimli region to 44 towards Beausejour. So again, with that snow that's forecasted, we could see a couple problems. -8 tonight at midnight under a cloudy sky, nice light wind, not a huge factor for us. We'll see by the morning time around 7, 8, -11 degrees, mostly cloudy, again, a light wind for us. As we look towards lunchtime, this is when we could start seeing a little bit of sunshine towards us, -6 degrees. It doesn't last because we're going to be looking for the snow to start arriving into Saturday night. So that's going to be your moment of sunshine. If you're heading to Festival, you have a great weekend ahead. -13 for Sunday. We're going to look for a bit of a breeze that day, 1 centimeter of snow. Sunday into Louis Riel Monday, that is when temperatures start to drop off. Looking for 2 to 4 centimeters on Monday. But hey ho, Janet, it will still be fun. Layers.
Layers, they're the key. We'll talk to you a little later in the show. Thank you, Fiona. War hero Sergeant Tommy Prince was honored again today in the north end of Winnipeg. He is, of course, Canada's most decorated First Nations soldier. He fought for Canada in the Second World War and the Korean War. Upon returning to Canada, he then tried fighting for Indigenous rights. A new interactive display is now up in his honor, unveiled at Sergeant Tommy Prince Place. CBC's Janelle Henry put this story together on it.
This is when he first was in residential school. That's when he first put the uniform on. Today we are unveiling some pictures of the medals and a little bit of my deceased father's life history. I'm always proud to do any unveiling or go to any event that concerns my deceased father. I'm still learning a lot about him, and it's a very positive thing what he did and what he, accomplished. Everything they're fighting for today, he asked for years ago. Oh, he'd be very happy. He'd be just full of tears right about now.
Establishing these storyboards today that tell the story of Sergeant Tommy Prince's life is, I believe, an important step in reconciliation. I trust that his story will continue to inspire those that live in the North End, those that live in Winnipeg, and those that live across Manitoba, both non-Indigenous and Indigenous members of our community.
The report came out today on the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act to end the convoy protests last winter. The commissioner's findings after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Your stories, your community. CBC's Communities in Focus is coming to Steinbach starting February 21st. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
The report came out today on the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act to end the convoy protests last winter. The commissioner said the government met the threshold to invoke the measure, but he also said it could have been avoided if police and politicians had acted differently. Rafi Boudjikanian reports.
Freedom! Last winter in Ottawa, it took 3 weeks of this before police swarmed protesters. In between, the federal government invoked the Emergencies Act, allowing authorities to compel tow trucks to move big rigs and freeze bank accounts of some protesters. But along with the invocation came a constraint built into the law, an independent inquiry into whether Ottawa was justified in pulling that trigger. Today, this.
After careful reflection, I have concluded that the very high threshold required for the invocation of the Act was met.
Rouleau cited failures by the Ottawa police, a lack of proper planning, no proper assessment of intelligence, and infighting. He also blamed the province of Ontario for its absence as a partner to the city and to the federal government in dealing with the convoy. As for Prime Minister Trudeau, Rouleau did say this remark appears to have flared up tensions with protesters.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa do not represent the views of Canadians.
Today, the Prime Minister expressed some regret.
I wish I had said that differently. The fact is, there is a very small number of people in this country who deliberately spread misinformation and disinformation,
but took a victory lap over Rouleau's major findings.
He found that what we experienced last year was a national emergency that threatened the security of Canadians.
While the official opposition continued calling the Emergencies Act an overreach and defending its support of the convoy.
People were so helpless and so desperate, they ended up participating in a protest in Ottawa. This was an emergency that Justin Trudeau created.
This as the lawyer representing downtown residents and businesses worried over whether police forces will heed the report's findings, asking for police to work together.
You would think that we've learned a lot of lessons from this, or at least the police have. They've said the right words at times, but I don't think we've really gotten a good apology from the Ottawa Police to the people of Ottawa.
As for Rouleau's other big target, the province of Ontario is defending itself, saying in a statement it declared a provincial emergency before Ottawa invoked the act and froze funds for protesters. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Leaders, officials, and diplomats from around the world have gathered in Germany for the annual Munich Security Conference. The Russian invasion of Ukraine is a key focus at that meeting. No Russian representatives have been invited to this year's conference. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky attended by video link. CBC's Abby Dawson has the latest.
The opening session of this year's Munich Security Conference was called David on the Dnipro, referring to Ukraine's fight for freedom. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country was not alone in its battle against the so-called Goliath.
David is now all of us. He is a whole free world. David is everyone who left that there is no alternative but to defeat Goliath, who came to destroy our life.
He thanked Western allies for providing the slings and urged quicker deliveries of weapons. Several nations, including Canada, have promised Leopard 2 tanks to Kyiv. Approval for the re-export of those German-built tanks came from Chancellor Olaf Scholz just over 3 weeks ago. But while Ukraine is hoping for 300 Western tanks, the international pledges haven't yet added up. In Munich, Scholz was asked why he was now urging partners to send more tanks.
There is a question I have to ask to others, especially those who were so much urging me to act in a special way. The only strategy for being united is never doing something just for your own and to discuss with your friends and partners, and this is what we did.
NATO this week acknowledged Ukrainian troops are going through ammunition faster than member states can supply it. Europe has long been on a peacetime footing, not expecting this type of warfare on its soil.
We once ordered, and we agreed that the production is stopping because we have already bought what we need. We need a permanent production of the most important weapons we are using.
While Scholz has been periodically criticized for dragging his feet in the last year, French President Emmanuel Macron has faced backlash for not being tough enough on Moscow. But on Friday, he said now is not the time for dialogue with the Kremlin.
Now, the question is how to resist, help the Ukrainians to make on the ground something which will force Russia to come back at the table at the conditions of Ukraine.
According to NATO intelligence, Russia is losing up to 2,000 soldiers for every 100 meters it gains in eastern Ukraine. Some Western officials believe that will push the Kremlin to shift its focus to aerial combat. Russian fighter jets and bombers are already being amassed along the Ukrainian border. Abby Kovasin, CBC News, London.
5 former police officers in Memphis, Tennessee, appeared in court today to enter their pleas in the death of Tyree Nichols.
Gentlemen, each of your attorneys have entered pleas of not guilty on your behalf.
Nichols was beaten by officers after a traffic stop in Memphis on January 7th. He died days later. Police body cam footage prompted public outcry and protests. The officers are pleading not guilty to charges of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. The Globe and Mail is reporting that China employed what it calls a sophisticated strategy to influence Canada's last federal election. The newspaper says it based its story on secret and top-secret documents from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. CBC News has not seen the documents. The Globe report says the documents suggest that China had 2 aims: to ensure a minority liberal government and to defeat certain conservative candidates identified by China. It says China pressured its consulates to influence Chinese community members and associations within Canada, and donors were encouraged to provide campaign contributions to candidates favored by China. The Globe says the documents reveal China's former consul general in Vancouver boasted in 2021 about how she helped defeat 2 conservative MPs. The Trudeau government set up a task force to monitor potential threats to the federal elections, but Trudeau told the Commons that the integrity of our elections was not compromised. Fresh anti-government protests have erupted in Iran. Demonstrators took to the streets in Tehran and other cities overnight. Videos posted to social media show marchers chanting "Women, Life, Freedom" in the streets of the capital. The protests are believed to have been organized to mark 40 days since the execution of 2 protesters in January. The marches lasted into the daylight hours and spread to several cities across Iran. Protests swept the country back in September, following the death of a 22-year-old woman who had been arrested for wearing her hijab improperly. The America's Cup Sailing Championship has been around for nearly 140 years. And next year in Spain, the competition will mark a first. There will be a women's division. Canada will take part, and the team will be led by a Vancouver woman who's ranked 2nd in the world. CBC's Jessica Chung has the story.
America's Cup match underway.
For the first time in more than a century, the America's Cup will include a women's regatta.
Isabella Bertol.
And Vancouver's very own Isabella Berthold will be leading the charge.
In October 2024, history will be made. The America's Cup is the pinnacle of the sport of sailing, and for the first time in its history, the women will compete for our very own trophy. This is a monumental step for women in sport, women in the sport of sailing, and women in general.
The 32-year-old who is ranked 2nd in the world got her start sailing in English Bay. Now Berthold will lead a team of 4 at the event in Spain next year.
Growing up, I was often 1 or 2 girls on the junior race team here at Royal Van. There weren't that many women actively sailing, but I was very fortunate to have incredible female role models around me still, who sort of paved the way and said never take no for an answer and keep pushing forward.
The America's Cup has been a men's-only competition for 137 years. Now up to 12 women's teams will be competing for their own trophy. Hopes are high that more diversity in the sport will spark interest for the next generation.
The team we're setting up for the long haul. It's way beyond. The first goal is Barcelona in 2024, but we're not setting up just as a 2-year project. The aim is to get Canada back on the main stage and to stay there for the long term.
On the competition side, I want more girls coming up and saying, I can sail this boat better than you can. And for that, they need role models, they need people to look up to. And so, yeah, it means the world.
The rest of the team have yet to be chosen, but Isabella Berthold will be leading them in the competition. They will be heading to Barcelona, Spain in October of 2024. Jessica Chung, CBC News, Vancouver.
Coming up next, a diamond is forever. But are you getting what you're paying for? A CBC Marketplace investigation found some retailers make misleading claims. More on this story after the break. When you buy a diamond, you may not be getting what you're paying for. A CBC Marketplace investigation found some retailers make misleading claims. Rosa Marcatelli shows us why customers may want to question whether they're getting the real deal on diamonds.
We're undercover at jewelry stores Ben Moss, Michael Hill, and Peoples to find out what consumers are told when they lay down all that money for a diamond ring. The pitches include information about what a great investment diamonds are.
So if I were to buy this, the value would just go up. Absolutely.
That's not true, according to this veteran jewelry appraiser.
It's a sales pitch the same as any other type of sales pitch. All they want to say is, yes, this is good value.
So what about the 4 C's? Cut, color, clarity, and carat weight. The salespeople tell us we can trust what we're sold.
It has all the specifications here, the shape, the weight, the clarity, the color.
At each store, we're told the 4 C's are backed by a grading report. So we tested them, buying similar diamonds from each retailer, then sending them to a top lab for regrading. The result? None of the reports matched up.
So this is an eye color I want.
Grading diamonds is subjective, so differences in the reports can happen. In the case of our diamonds, the grading on the Michael Hill one was close, increasing the value slightly by $130. But our test found a drop in quality for the Ben Moss and Peoples diamonds. Both lost nearly $1,000 in value, based on the reports we got.
So people could be buying a diamond and not actually getting what they think they're paying for?
All the time.
Tom Hart speaks for the company that owns Ben Moss.
I feel very confident in our grading. I think anybody shopping at Ben Moss should be 100% convinced that they are getting fair value and getting what we tell them it is.
All 3 companies say the labs they use to grade diamonds are recognized and reliable. Little reassurance for this young couple who spent a lot of money on an engagement ring.
How would you guys feel? You're paying a certain amount and you're expecting something, and so if you find out that it's like not what you're being told, then yeah, it would be disappointing.
The advice for consumers? Get your ring independently appraised right after you buy it. You can usually return it if you're not satisfied. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Toronto.
Weather specialist Fiona Odlum joins us once again. She always brings us beautiful pictures.
Yes.
And one is Festival related
Festival.
tonight,
This is a throwback photo. Let's take a look at this snow sculpture that we had here in the city. I loved this one because it was like the eyes. It was the eyes for me that was so haunting. It's like, it's cold. Hey ho, it's Festival, and we are all in the spirit. You know, tonight is going to be a fantastic evening for seeing Aurora Borealis. We have a solar storm this evening. We're going to see a KP rating of 5.6. We don't see that very often. Northern Manitoba, you are going to be in for a real treat tonight. You're going to have a partly cloudy sky, and that'll be great viewing conditions. -3 right now, and -3 at the Voyageur Park as well. -5 in St. Laurent. We have a nice light wind. We don't have that concern like we did this morning. Temperatures still mild in the south. As we go north, this is where things really switch. We do currently have an extreme cold warning in place. Now, this expanded throughout the day, so we're looking for this in towards Dooley Lake, York region, Churchill, Shamattawa, Gillam, and also northwestern Ontario. We're looking for wind chill values into the -46 zone. Looking for snow to start coming through tomorrow. Here it comes. It starts to expand as we move across the province, and we'll see a second system moving up into the southeast corner there, bringing us some substantial snow into that region. Cold air moving in on Sunday, and we'll see a sharp change in our temperature as well. More snow moving towards us on Sunday into Monday. Now, looking at the snowfall totals in the north, not a lot except for into Swan River, where we have 4 centimeters coming our way. So a relatively quiet weekend for you, just a couple of flakes in towards Thompson as well. The south is where we're going to see the bulk of the snow, 2 centimeters in the next 24 hours towards Winnipeg, 4 into Swan River, 2 into Dauphin. Check out northwestern Ontario there, 5 centimeters into Kenora and 7 into Dryden. The wind, not a huge factor into the north, nice and calm all weekend long, so that's great news to see that. In the south, we're going to be seeing some wind problems developing, but nothing into the 50s or 60s, so that's great news. Tonight, we're going to be looking for temperatures to be in towards -18 and a chance of flurries toward Red Lake. We're going to be looking as well for temperatures to be around -10 in Winnipeg, and the same as we look towards that southwestern corner. In the north, we're going to be looking for -36 and -46 with the wind chill in Churchill. Now, I have a question for you. Have you noticed that sunsets and sunrises seem better in the wintertime? Well, I had to ask the folks at the planetarium exactly the science behind it.
During the winter time, the sun is setting very slowly. The angle that it's setting along the horizon is a much longer angle than it is in the summertime. And so you just tend to get a sunset, first of all, for longer, but also it tends to go through those color changes as it's refracting through the Earth's atmosphere. In cold temperatures, you tend to have less humidity, and that humidity would tend to change the sun's light and make it more diffuse and less crisp. And also you have ice particles in the air, and ice particles tend to refract light a bit sharper, and that probably brings out a bit of the more color. So it's a bit of a combination of both the astronomy and the meteorology of what's going on.
Beautiful reasons to enjoy our winters. You know, Winnipeggers are embracing winter as a time to get out and have fun more and more often, it seems. Coming up, we learn about a beer-a-thon relay race and a chance to light up the night along the Nestawaya River Trail this weekend. Stay with us. A conference on how best to get people out and enjoying themselves in the winter is wrapping up tonight. Many delegates from the Winter Cities Shake Up 2023 are off to Festival du Voyageur. But Festival is just one of the fun ways you can enjoy the outdoors this weekend. According to a couple of experts I spoke with today, Winnipeggers are embracing this season more than they used to. A licensed patio in Osborne Village in the summer is going to be packed, sure, but in the winter? This is Lauren Siddell, and she says, yeah, the beer can is hopping this winter. Why?
Winnipeggers like winter. You know, our winters are very long and we sort of need to make the best of it. You know, we have 6 months a year where it's not plus 30, so it's time to get outside, you know, add an extra layer on and away you go.
Lindsay Summers is standing beside you. She's executive director of the Osborne Village Biz. You say, yeah, Winnipeggers are embracing their winter city more than they used to.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing a big response to, after the pandemic, to winters kind of maintaining that outdoor connection and spending time outside. We have more people using the Nestaway River Trail. We have more access points, more ways for people to move and connect outside in winter, and having folks like the Beer Can pivot to create outdoor spaces for people to connect in our neighborhoods is, we're seeing a real response in the community of Winnipeg to actually thrive in winter now.
There's a conference on now, right, talking about winter cities. Do you think we're actually hitting our stride as one of those winter cities?
Yeah, recently the Forks released numbers saying that they had over 50,000 people one day using the Nestaway River Trail, and here at the Osborne Bridge we had over 1,000 people access the river on one day and 2,000 people at the Hugo Docks. And if you spend any time on the river trail, you can see that this is where Winnipeg is spending their winter, and they're choosing to cross-country ski, bike, skate, and walk. And so we have equipment available for people. People can just get there and spend time with people, and it's just quite wonderful that we see when we have these facilities that people actually do use them.
This weekend you've got something coming up where you're using activities as well to draw people out. Tell me about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So Winnipeggers often need just a little bit of a push to go do something. So we've decided to create a couple events this coming weekend to draw people out a little bit of their house. So on Saturday we have a ball hockey tournament here. We're going to have some nets set up. We'll get some sticks available for everybody. We'll have the bar open. Folks can get a beer, cheer on their favorite teams, and away we go. And then on Sunday we're doing a beer-athlon. So you start up here, you run all the way down to the river trail. So we're going to have volunteers, you know, helping people cross the streets safely. Run down to the river trail, lace up your skates, do your little skate. We'll have someone to tag off. At the end, you'll come back, run back up the stairs, come all the way back here, tag your teammate off, and away they go.
The Beer Olympics.
The Beer Olympics.
There we go. Skating is also something that you're involved with this weekend in a different hat, not your executive director hat. What are you involved with?
Yeah, I'm working with the Forks on the nightlight event. So on Sunday night, everyone's going to light themselves up and get out onto the river trail and go onto the Forks for a light show. So I'm leading the skate portion from the Hugo Docks. We'll be leaving there at 6:30 p.m. There's also leaving cross-country skiing and walking from the Legislative Building, and also at you'll have to check the Forks website. But people are all lighting themselves up, getting out on the river trail for a great big light show, and it's going to be an awesome time.
So we are getting better at getting out and embracing the winter. What more would you like to see to help encourage the city forward? Do you have ideas, things you'd like to see?
I think that we're seeing just a lot of community-led events that people respond to first in their own neighborhoods, and I think that's the first way to get people out and active is right in their own backyards, in their own communities. So when we see like the Wolseley Winter event and Norwood Grove event and Festival du Voyageur, we see a lot of people just getting out within their local communities. So that's why it's important to have partners like the Beer Can come to Osborne Village and populate our spaces right here in our urban centers that are connecting right to the river trail where you can be active literally a block away. So it's really quite special to have access to the river trail in Winnipeg in so many of these communities.
Lauren Siddell, Lindsay Summers, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Your 7-day forecast in our beautiful city is next. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Your stories, your community. CBC's Communities in Focus is coming to Steinbach starting February 21st. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
We have a great weekend ahead. Today was really nice. Tomorrow will also be nice. -3 is our projected daytime high. Looking for a centimeter of snow, light wind, and the overnight low -12. -13 for Sunday. You can see where things start changing here. Looking for some snow on Louis Riel weekend, Monday there. And then as we look into the start of next week, which is Tuesday, really cold. And Thursday, Janet, the sun will set at 6 p.m.
Wow.
Yes.
Days of light, the hours of light are getting longer.
Absolutely.
Hey, you know, we had a bit of a milestone to celebrate today here at the CBC newsroom. We did the celebration in a very Manitoban way with Jeannie's cake.
Yeah, our CBC Manitoba YouTube channel topped 5,000 subscribers this week, plus more than twice than that many people who have yet to subscribe, but they check out our channel every day to see what video we've put up there.
Love that they do that. So while having our celebration, that age-old Manitoba argument popped up, of course. Jeannie's cake, yay or nay? Here are a few takes on the subject.
If you're from Winnipeg, you know that it's something that divides families. You lose friends over what position you take on Jeannie's cake. You either hate it or you love it. And I personally, what's that?
I have to say love it. It's free, it's food. I'm a journalist. This is how I survived through school. I'll eat the whole thing.
And that SMR chewing sound in there. I happen to be one of those fence dwellers. I like it, depending on my mood. And also if it's free. If it's free, I really like it, as is the case today.
And thanks to Travis for buying that cake.
That's awesome.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend. Eat the cake.